Indiana News Desk is made possible in part by Maller-Grodner Attorneys, providing legal services to clients and the community. Maller-Grodner Attorneys, understanding expertise results. Bloomington and Indianapolis. On the web at lawmg.com. IU Center for Rural Engagement, extending IU Bloomington resources to improve Hoosier lives in partnership with communities and organizations. rural.indiana.edu. Smithville Fiber Internet, Security Solutions, and Voice in Southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com. Bunger and Robertson, attorneys at law since 1949, utilizing experience, knowledge, and resources to help individuals and families recover in personal injury matters. Information at lawbr.com. And by WTIU members. Thank you.
Coming up on Indiana News Desk.
Carelessly broadcasting views that they think are peaceful when really they don't care to understand that it feels very threatening to us.
Trump is cracking down on anti-Semitism on college campuses. I spoke with the Jewish community to learn more about the climate at IU.
Governor Braun's executive order is meant to curtail Medicaid costs for behavioral therapy, but it could leave parents paying out of pocket for therapy.
She's going to receive ABA as long as I'm alive. Full week, 40 hours a week, she will get ABA therapy.
That therapy can cost up to $100,000 a year. And Terre Haute's casino has been open 1 year, and city leaders are making the most of the tax revenue from it. These stories and more right now on Indiana News Desk. Welcome to Indiana News Desk. I'm Joe Wren. President Donald Trump's administration warned Indiana University and 59 other schools this month that they could face consequences if they don't protect Jewish students. Reporter Aubrey Wright has more on concerns for funding and what it means for free speech.
After the warning, some professors worry IU leaders could suppress free speech. But as protests continue, some Jewish students say they're afraid on campus.
First, thank you all for joining us today. I trust you all had an excellent spring break.
In a typical faculty council meeting, Provost Rahul Srivastava is delivering standard remarks about IU Bloomington. But about 10 protesters carrying banners and wearing keffiyehs dash behind the provost. The silent protesters are quickly escorted out by an IU police officer.
I want to begin by congratulating and welcoming our new chancellor to IU Bloomington, David Reingold.
The protest is almost as routine as the meeting. Like other universities around the country, IU's community has seen protests and arrests since October 7th, 2023. Groups such as the IU Divestment Coalition continued to organize for Palestine, calling on IU leaders to resign and cut ties with Israel.
Free, free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine!
Earlier this month, 2 coalition members had hearings for disorderly conduct.
While we had hoped that the charges would be dropped, we understand that this is just the beginning of a fight.
Many protests come from the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement against Israel. Last year, state police arrested dozens of IU community members during a months-long protest in Dunn Meadow. Meanwhile, some Jewish students report they're afraid on campus.
Some of these protests, like, I'm scared, and someone needs to be like, hey, cut it out.
To IU senior Rachel Applefield, the campus Jewish community is passive. She says she still sees anti-Semitism, even when her non-Jewish friends don't.
If you're looking for it, you'll see it.
Trump's administration is threatening to withhold funding in the name of fighting anti-Semitism by cracking down on protesters. Schools using federal funds are obligated to protect all students. Notably, the Trump administration has cut $400 million from Columbia University after large protests for Palestine. And some foreign students in the country legally have been arrested. Applegate says despite IU's problems, it's better than other schools.
Comparing it to Columbia, we're not really close to it, so I don't necessarily see it happening. unless things escalate.
Rabbi Levi Kunin says he works with thousands of Jewish students. It's a vibrant, strong community that's deeply connected to Israel.
In my personal view, I think that Indiana University did a great job handling and protecting the rights of those that were being harassed, harmed, and discriminated against.
He says any serious incident directed at Jewish students or other minorities should be looked into.
Free speech is designed in order that there should be a free flow of ideas, and free speech is not there to harass, harm, or intimidate people based on their race, nationality, or religion.
As Columbia leadership tries to appease the federal government and reclaim the funding, some worry about the precedent it sets. Some IU Jewish professors, such as Jeffrey C. Isaac, are concerned that the government's actions will chill free speech.
It's very disturbing to us that it's being justified as a way of defending Jewish people, defending us.
Last spring, IU leaders received widespread criticism for suspending the advisor of the Palestine Solidarity Committee, canceling a Palestinian artist's exhibition, and trying to stop protesters in Dunmeadow. Isaac hopes it will be different this year.
The mistakes of the past don't need to be repeated.
More than 30 professors sent an open letter to Shrivastov, President Pamela Whitten, and Board Chair Quinn Buckner. The professors say they don't want their names invoked to suppress free speech at IU. To Isaac, taking offense doesn't mean being harmed.
I don't mean to question every person who says they're afraid. We need to listen to them. But that's different than saying we need to shut down anything that disturbs them. And that's what's going on in this country now.
The university didn't respond to requests for comment. For Indiana News Desk, I'm Aubrey Wright.
More than 10,000 people are still on wait list for home and community-based services through Medicaid waivers. But the number of people invited off the wait list so far would fill all the available slots on the waivers. Indiana Public Broadcasting's Abigail Ruman reports advocates say the state won't invite new people off the wait list until previous invitations have been declined or rescinded.
Once someone is invited off the wait list, they have 30 days to accept the invitation. Then they have 180 days to complete a service plan and several assessments to start receiving services. If they don't, the Family and Social Services Administration rescinds the invitation and offers it to another person on the wait list.
The advice that we're providing individuals is to regularly, probably monthly, contact the entities that they've gone to get on the wait list and see and just check on their status on the wait list.
Once the state runs out of slots on the waivers, people will have to wait until at least July for services when some slots reopen.
Long wait lists not only increase institutional placements, which carry significantly higher costs to the state, but more importantly, these delays result in decreased quality of life, shorter lifespans for people with disabilities, greater hardships for families.
For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Abigail Ruman.
Now we're joined by Clayton Baumgarth for more headlines from around the state. Hi, Clayton.
Hey, Joe. Thank you. Governor Mike Braun's first measure signed into law will create an online portal for Hoosier farmers to connect with the government. Braun says the portal is an acknowledgement that navigating state and federal agencies is more complicated than it's ever been.
On this online portal, farmers can see regulatory checklists, access technical support, see available grants, and make their voices heard on federal regulation that affects them.
The State Department of Agriculture is expected to create and run the portal within its existing budget. The bill passed both chambers with overwhelming support. The Indiana Department of Health says it was notified this week the federal government canceled COVID-19 grants given to the state. State and local health departments could lose about $40 million. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reportedly expects to recover money within 30 days of when departments were notified.
We are working with our team to evaluate what's going on, communicating with our staff, and our goal is to ensure that no direct services to Hoosiers are disrupted.
Overall, the CDC is rescinding more than $11 billion from state and local health departments, as well as some non-government and international recipients. The Next Level Trails program has been cut out of the new state budget. Next Level Trails has invested $180 million in developing trails statewide since 2018. The cut is part of Governor Mike Braun's mandate for all state agencies to cut their budgets by 5%.
Extremely important on these, and we want to have nice trails, but we can't do it at the expense of taxpayer dollars.
A DNR spokesperson says all 89 granted projects will be completed with existing funds from previous state budgets. That includes the Monon South Trail project, which will run over 60 miles through 5 counties in southern Indiana when complete. The first section opened in New Orleans in December. Monroe County Community Schools is looking for a new board member after Brandon Schur resigned last week. Superintendent Mark Hay Winston announced the vacancy at last night's school board meeting. Schur represented District 7, which includes Bloomington and Perry Townships. Interested community members will have until tomorrow evening to apply. Winston said more than 60 people have already expressed interest. State law requires the school board fill the position by April 18th. Bloomington has been fighting an annexation battle in the courts the past few years after trying to incorporate county land into the city. It comes after legislation passed in 2019 made it more difficult for the city to annex those areas. As Joe Wren reports, lawmakers were working on an annexation compromise, but the bill is likely dead after a late amendment.
Kokomo Republican Senator Jim Buck authored legislation to rein in annexation that favors municipalities. Now, under the current process, 65% of the proposed annexed area's landowners must sign off on a remonstrance to oppose it. Buck's version would flip the burden by requiring cities to have the support of 51% of the area's property owners before initiating annexation. Republican Representative Dave Hall serves parts of Monroe, Brown, and Jackson counties. He introduced the ability for cities to add non-contiguous land if they had the full support of various parties and the property was less than 2 miles from city boundaries. Monroe County Commissioner Julie Thomas says the amendment muddies the waters, saying that Monroe County residents have suffered under the proposed Bloomington annexation because the 65% bar meant residents had to shoulder legal costs. Bloomington Mayor Carrie Thompson says the legislation seeks to eliminate involuntary annexation by creating a path for voluntary annexation.
Once you create a wall around the city of places that have refused to be annexed, then you lock the city boundaries. That should be concerning for economic development for our entire state.
The city is asking the Indiana Supreme Court to review the appeals court denial of its annexation case. For Indiana News Desk, I'm Joe Wren.
Trees have been cut down and parking barriers have gone up at the Convention Center expansion site this week. However, the status of the planned hotel is unclear. CIB President John Weichart says it's been 5 months since Dora Hospitality's referral as the developer, and there's a sense of urgency to begin construction of the host hotel. He also says discussions are planned on finding space at the Convention Center for a co-location with Visit Bloomington.
What better way to market to conventioners what's happening in Bloomington than to have Visit Bloomington be co-located in the facility where our convention goers are.
And Joe, work on construction documents will continue through June. Bidding is underway until August.
You know, I covered that story. Did you know bats are the reason why those trees had to come down? State code says you can't clear trees during active bat season.
Well, there you go.
Fun fact. Thanks, Clayton. Coming up next on Indiana News Desk. Those in need of ABA therapy are navigating how to cover costs after an executive order by Governor Braun caps Medicaid coverage. And Terre Haute's casino is bringing a lot of revenue to the city, but officials are still trying to lure tourists to the downtown area. These stories and more right here on Indiana News Desk.
1, 2, 3.
A change is happening.
Let the groove take over.
Which is perfect. The age of discovery is now.
When you hear it, you know what it is.
I am quite overwhelmed.
It's a joy to be in this world.
This is Passport. Your ticket to stream every single moment. Stream complete seasons.
This was perfect.
Iconic series, early releases, and so much more.
So much more than I thought.
Stream all the shows you love by donating to your local PBS station and get the full PBS experience.
Welcome back to Indiana News Desk. Indiana's plan to limit Medicaid-funded behavioral therapy is worrying families who fear their kids' progress will suffer. Isabella Vesperini joins us from the newsroom to tell us more about why the state is trying to combat soaring costs and the impact on families and providers.
Thanks, Joe. In February, Governor Mike Braun signed an executive order aiming to contain rising Medicaid costs for applied behavioral analysis therapy. The order followed an audit showing that Indiana made at least $56 million in improper Medicaid payments for behavioral therapy. Now, the Indiana Family and Social Services Administration has limited the number of covered hours for this kind of therapy for individuals with autism and instituted a 3-year cap. Individuals may still qualify for additional hours based on specific need, but the limits concern families. Rob Wilson's daughter, Olivia, is nonverbal and has a chromosomal disorder that makes it harder for her to retain information. She's been using these services for 12 years. Since the pandemic, she's been doing 40 hours a week of therapy from home. At-home therapy has been most effective and has helped Olivia learn how to perform tasks around the house and go out in public to restaurants and her siblings' sporting events.
For a while, you couldn't do that. You couldn't go to a restaurant with her. You couldn't go to an event or something like that because she's just all over that. It was just too difficult. So, it was kind of sad because as a family we would have to do different things, and either some of us would go, some would stay home.
Wilson said ABA therapy has helped improve communication with her.
It's frustrating if she can't tell us what she wants, or it's still difficult, but it's 1,000,000% better with having one-on-one therapy and her learning to tell us what she wants, what she needs.
Every 6 months, a court reevaluates Olivia's condition. At the end of last year, based on a report outlining Olivia's condition and progress, a court decided to take away 5 hours of the 40 Medicaid-covered ABA therapy services. Wilson now pays for those 5 hours a week.
5 hours a week for her could be the difference of her maybe mastering something, and, she asked for a blanket now. Before she'd be cold and she would just sit there.
The potential for individuals like Olivia to make progress is at stake if the state's plan to limit services is approved. Wilson said he will continue to fight to keep those services. It could cost up to $100,000 a year. That would be hard to afford for Wilson on a realtor's salary.
She's going to receive ABA as long as I'm alive. Full week, 40 hours a week, she will get ABA therapy. You got my word on that.
The proposed plan is also worrying local ABA providers like Teach and Play ABA. Kids go on field trips to the mall and library to practice socializing in public and practice restaurant and barbershop skills at the facility. These individuals may need therapy at different points in their lives.
Once they turn, 10, 12, the social, scene changes. And all of a sudden, there's a lot more complex social interactions, boyfriends, girlfriends, a lot of subtle things, and now they need more support again. And then maybe once they turn, 17, 18, now they're looking at job placement or college, and now they need support again.
Shrivastava could offer speech and occupational therapy to those who have run out of funded ABA therapy hours, but it would be limited to once a week. An extended stay is also possible if the state provides funding, but the service might not be as effective.
We would have a respite staff, and they could still work on continuation of skills, but it would not be one-on-one. It would be probably like 1 to 5 or something like that. So I guess that would be the drawback. I think ABA is successful because it's one staff, one client.
The plan poses other challenges for Shrivastava. Every staff member of hers is already a registered behavior technician, but Medicaid has now imposed additional training requirements for staff, lengthening the hiring process.
We'll have to start imposing a wait list before they can access our services.
The Autism Society of Indiana participates in a legislation day every year when members meet with legislators to talk about priorities. The state's plan has come up as a topic of discussion.
Typically, the governor or whoever our legislators are, they're going to listen to parents first before they will listen to professionals. Because they typically think that as a professional, I'm saying they need 40 hours because that's income for my center. So that's why I think it has to be parents.
The plan, if approved by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, will go into effect April 1st. Reporting from the newsroom for Indiana News Desk, I'm Isabella Vesperini.
The Terre Haute Casino Resort marks 1 year of operation next week. City, county, and casino leaders promised it would benefit the area. With Ethan Sandwise, Katie Spack reports on which promises were delivered and who's still waiting to cash in.
Elected officials showed enthusiasm at the casino's June 2022 groundbreaking.
Here's a company that's come in and not asked for any incentives and investing their own money and then having to give some of it back and then giving it some of it back on their own, that we're going to be able to do some really great things for the citizens of our community. Whether you gamble or you don't, you're going to benefit.
For leaders in local government, the casino was expected to bring good-paying jobs to Vigo County, finance government projects, and stimulate local business. At least the first two seem to be panning out. According to the casino, the majority of its 550 employees come from Terre Haute. About 2/3 of them have been here since day one.
The best part of my job at this point is seeing some of these people who are from this area, who've never worked in a casino before, started a little less than a year ago, who have now moved up already and have been promoted to leadership positions.
Starting positions range from $15 to $17 an hour, while tipped positions go above $20. The average hourly wage in Terre Haute, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, is around $24 an hour. Terre Haute and Vigo County are ready to put those tax dollars to work too. Bennett said at the end of his term that if the casino met its revenue goals, approximately $10 million would go from the casino directly to local government in 2025.
Those numbers are a little bit higher than anticipated, so we'll definitely meet our budget requirements, build a cash surplus, and then review those plans for 2026.
The city alone gets 25% of gaming revenue per month and 40% of supplemental taxes. A foundation set up by the casino to sponsor local projects has raised over $2.5 million.
It did take quite some time to get board members on board and involved, and then also for them to hire their own legal counsel as a part of the foundation and get projects moving. So there hasn't really been any money put forward or put out into the community yet, but that will be coming in the coming months.
The extent to which crime and problem gambling has affected Terre Haute is unclear, but the city's casino fund will cover public projects this year, including part of a renovation for the local YMCA. It's also paying for a new aquatic center at the Deming Park pool, as well as paving and sidewalk work around town. $800,000 is going to the Vigo County School Corporation for supplies, transportation, and security services.
Most normal Vigo County and Terre Haute people are still excited about it, happy to see the tourism, the food and beverage revenue, innkeeper's tax revenue and stuff like that, and we got to find good ways to use that money.
The challenge remains getting those tourists into the city. At Federal Coffee in downtown Terre Haute, numerous customers say they're staying at the nearby convention center, but barista Sydney Harmon says she's barely met any staying at the casino 15 minutes away.
We're a little bit of a drive from the casino, so that's not really something that we're seeing our customers come into town for.
With 5 restaurants and 6 bars, there's a lot of in-house options for hotel guests. Neither Sackbun nor Much More say they have a reliable way to track how many casino patrons visit other spots in Terre Haute, but they've been meeting to come up with ideas.
How can we sell Holman Links Golf Course, J. Ford Steakhouse, or the Verve Bar and Lounge, 2 folks who are at the casino? And that's where we really need to start synchronizing our marketing and tourist efforts.
There's been a lot of great brainstorming. We'll see where it comes, but at this point, it's just great that these people are in the same room having conversations that are all aimed towards, again, growing tourism and convention in this area.
As someone who lives and works in Terre Haute, Harmon says the best way to attract casino visitors downtown may be simpler.
Maybe a little bit more downtown. We have a couple bars, but that's more nightlife. And obviously as a coffee shop, we're not open at nighttime. So maybe some more restaurants, more stuff to do downtown during the day instead of drinking.
For Indiana News Desk with Ethan Sandweiss, I'm Katie Spack.
The Terre Haute Casino earned more than $10 million from gaming last month, about twice as much as southern Indiana's French Lick Resort. Spring is in the air at Memorial Stadium. The Indiana football team is a quarter of the way through its allotted 15 practices this spring, and one of the priorities is getting Cal transfer Fernando Mendoza up to speed at quarterback.
I'm expected to be the guy from day one, so it's a great challenge that I've accepted, and I've really enjoyed learning all the guys, learning everybody on offense, defense, specialists.
Spring practice wraps up with the annual spring game on Thursday, April 17th. Well, that's the end of this program, but our work continues online as we cover the news throughout the week at WTIUnews.org. Have a great weekend.
Indiana News Desk is made possible in part by Maller-Grodner Attorneys, providing legal services to clients and the community. Maller-Grodner Attorneys, understanding expertise results. Bloomington and Indianapolis. On the web at lawmg.com. IU Center for Rural Engagement, extending IU Bloomington resources to improve Hoosier lives in partnership with communities and organizations. rural.indiana.edu. Smithville, fiber internet, security solutions, and voice in southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com. Bunger & Robertson, attorneys at law since 1949, utilizing experience, knowledge, and resources to help individuals and families recover in personal injury matters. Information at lawbr.com. And by WTIU members. Thank you.